Trent Janeiro. Quelgi Stotoya Chupurupa. Impire. Istaru Rakmatata. Yakwari Wadase. Ekwewe une. Jahwa de Gahra. Yakuri Wadase. Ene Ufne une. Jahwa de Gahra. Yakuri Wadase. We said this ne Urukwe. Une Jahwa de Gahra. Yakuri Wadase. Awe une Jahwa de Gahra. Yakuri Wadase. Pure. Gane. Une Jahwa de Gahra. Yakuri Wadase. Kazru Gane. Jahwa. Une Jahwa de Gahra. Yakuri Wadase. Jine. Une Jahwa de Gahra. Yakuri Wadase. Uhene Osahai. So, the Thanksgiving address is the words that's said before any type of gatherings, ceremonies. It's a type of prayer, type of invocation, it's a type of affirmation. I guess you can call it quite a few different things, but basically it's a recognition of the oneness of creation and everybody being in the same circle of life, having respect for the animals, having respect for water, the land, having respect for people. Try living without trees. People who cut down trees don't care about trees at all, but try cutting them all down, see if we can live without trees. People pollute the water. There are all kinds of things in it, polluted with oil, and just like what we're dealing here in the Cape Fear, dealing with Gen X and the PFAS. Try living without water. See if you can do that. People pollute the air. Try living without air. People say that the animals are stupid, unintelligent, and they're just put here so we can rule and subdue and bend them to our will. Try living without animals. If there was no animals, how long would we survive without them? So basically, it's embracing the oneness of everything, giving thanks and showing gratitude. Let me talk a little bit about what I see as very divisive behavior, and this stuff has been going on way before I came, before I was born. Little yellow flies, can't stand them sometimes. Now I think we can live without them. They serve some kind of purpose. I just don't know what it is. But divisive behavior. I am an optimistic person, but I do not think everyone is going to unite and live in some type of kumbaya world. I don't see that happening. It would probably take some type of crazy disaster for something even close to that to happen. I just don't see it happening. Everybody uniting, and that's never happened globally anyway. People have always differed in opinions, disagreed. But anyway, my main concern is not with uniting everyone. I'm more family specific. You have to start in your own house first. And then your house can become an example to other houses, other homes. My house consists of my nation, my tribe, the same bloodline. In the southern Virginia down to northern South Carolina, and North Carolina from the top to the bottom and all in between. My family specifically in the Cape Fear, we share DNA. markers with pretty much all of the tribes in North Carolina. Haven't found many connections to the Qualla boundary, Cherokee, out in western North Carolina. Not saying they're not there, but our relatives are more prominent in a lot of your Piedmont and eastern coastal tribes. Easy to find shared ancestry there. But in a lot of your colonial era tribes, for some reason, they've taken on Eurocentric, colonial minded thinking and become very phenotypical in the way they think. Meaning, if you don't fit the description of what the United States government says that Indian is supposed to look like, then you're not Indian, which is the craziest thing ever. The only people that has to show their pedigree is American Indian. Indigenous people, Aboriginal, however you want to identify, the original inhabitants of America. Only people have to show their lineage, their pedigree is us. And the United States government, through the Dawes Rolls and other Indian policing organizations, have set the standard on what an Indian is supposed to be according to their standards. But the craziest thing is, Indians accept the standard. They accept that. You let the government who conquered you tell you if you qualify to be who you were born to be. You were born an Indian, but if they say you are not one, then you're not. And you accept that. You even brag on the certified degree of Indian blood. What's that, CBID? A lot of you brag about that. So you're proud of being colonized. If that's something that you're bragging on, your degree of Indian blood, then you are proud to be colonized. You are a colonized-minded person, and you're proud of it because you are bragging and boasting about it. Because that was something they established, not the indigenous people here. So you're bragging about an oppressive government policy that conquered, slaughtered, committed genocide against our people here. You brag about it, accept it, and then use it to further oppress other native people who are not in government-controlled tribes. That is beyond belief. If you are proud to be in a federally recognized tribe, great. And I have nothing against that. Why would I? My problem is when you use that against other Indian people who are not in that federally recognized tribe. Because if you think all Indians became federally recognized, then we need to up your education level, because you're severely lacking if that's what you think. Your history is not up to par. Look, we have a unique history. Things that happened to us that didn't happen to you. Our ancestors were slaughtered over here, raped, all kinds of things that did not happen to you. Of course, you have a history out there too, with your own massacres. So one thing we have in common is we had different massacres from coast to coast. The government set out massacring all our people across the country. But there are certain unique histories that we have that you don't have. For example, Columbus didn't land in Oklahoma, Nevada, Arizona, none of those places. He was on the Atlantic Ocean on that side of the country. We took the onslaught of all the hell that he brought, along with all the other Europeans that sailed over here, over the Atlantic. Giovanni came here, not out there. Juan Pardo, all these guys came here. And what they did was enslave us, infect us, and replace us with false histories. Have you ever been taught this out west? Have you ever been taught this? Just in case you've never heard, I'm going to tell you right now. The British outlawed, in the 1700s, they outlawed native slavery. Now, I know that all of you are familiar with Indian enslavement, American Indian slavery. I know you're familiar with that. That was very prime. That was big business here. Way before any type of African slave trade over here, you had American Indian slavery. Well, the British outlawed that. So the genius colonists said, okay, we'll find a loophole in that. We will write back and tell them that we don't have any Indian slaves and all we have is African. How can they pull that off? How can you pull off an African slave, an Indian slave, by calling them an African? Well, simply because they were all people of color and they shared similar phenotypes. Not directly identical, but very similar phenotypes. Everybody over here east of the Mississippi did not have one particular look. We didn't all look the same. Some people looked like me. Some people were lighter than me and some were darker than me. Some people had curly hair, wavy hair, straight hair. Some people had broad features, angular features. Some people had, as they said, oriental eyes. Some people had brown eyes. Some people had tails tied behind their head. Grab your hair, tie it behind your head. Ponytail. We had different looks. We know our ancestry. We know ours just as good as you know yours. Now, people in the colonial era have accepted the European version of history because they found a way to be accepted in it. So now they perpetuate it. They perpetuate our own genocide from within by denying their own people, their own family, their own cousins, entry into certain tribes that were created in the colonial era. I recognize the tribes that was created within the United States. You exist. A lot of you are 501c3s, registered with your states, whatever state you reside in. So you exist today. You know, I don't deny your existence, but at the same point, you certainly can't deny a pre-colonial nation that existed before you. And if any tribe, regardless of the state, especially in my state, there's a little issue going on right now. You cannot splinter off of something that existed before you. That is backwards. You can't have a tree without a seed. So now we see a tree, we see all the limbs and the leaves and everything, and we say, well, the leaves is here before the root was. Does that make any sense? The leaves, the fruit, the apple existed before the tree. Does that make sense? Well, that's the same logic by saying that a pre-colonial tribe came from a colonial era tribe. That's not even mathematically possible. If you was to break that down into a mathematical equation, it would fail because you can't. It's not logical. Now, I'm not really focused on everybody else's tribes and nations and what they're doing. I'm just focused on my own family here. We have our own issues. Like I said, we have to get our own house clean. We have certain family members that have issues with other family members. Can't grow like that. You got to find a way to put your personal issues aside. Now, if you feel like your personal issues supersede tribal business, then maybe you need to be solo. Because our ancestors fought to exist and did extreme things to keep from dying out. So in this day and age, if we keep perpetuating all this hate within our families, then dying out is actually what's going to happen. We're going to manifest death. We're going to perpetuate our own genocide coming directly from us. Can't blame the white man for that. Have to blame yourself. Family members, if you say that you're native, indigenous, then you need to behave that way. Do you have to hang out, have coffee, go to a game together? No. But if you're a part of a tribe, part of a nation, you need to find a way to work together. Or you need to bow out. If you can't do that, you don't need to be around and affect everyone else's progression. But if you want to be a part of what your ancestors fought and died to save, then you need to find a way to put your personal issues aside for the whole. You need to find a way to do that. I've been trying to find a way to make amends with a lot of people who I haven't talked to in years. So at some point, if you feel like this is the walk you're supposed to be on, then you need to walk on it or get off. Get out of everybody else's way. My cousin is in the 70s, and one of the things he told me the other day was, it's everybody's right to reclaim their heritage and their bloodline. It's everybody's right to do that. If you grew up not knowing and you find out, it's your right to reclaim it, and no one has the right to tell you not to. No one has the right to tell you not to, just because you did not know. Now, personally with me, I grew up knowing bits and pieces, because when you grew up in certain areas, that's not the culture. Let me break that down. Where I live, there's certain areas designated as Native American. Now here's a horsefly. The flies are getting bigger now. They really are trying to bite me. So if you can share the same bloodline, actually have the same grandparents, great-grandparents, whatever. You can have the same bloodline. But if someone in your family moved out of the designated areas that's designated as Native American, and you moved into areas that's considered black, then here the thinking is, now you're black. Regardless of your ancestry, you're black. So, and then if you identify with the culture that's called black culture, you're black. So now, times that, multiply that times 10, that you've been detached from indigenous culture, and all you know is black culture. You grew up in hip-hop, breakdance, and you know, whatever black culture is, the experience of black, that's what you grew up in. Regardless of your bloodline, that's what you are. And that's the way the thinking is here. Regardless of your bloodline. You and somebody from the designated area that's considered Native American have the same bloodline, but they are there and you are here. So now culturally, you are not the same. And there's some truth to that. Culturally, you're not the same because you're not practicing the same culture. The ones who stayed in the designated area are practicing native culture. The ones that moved away are detached and not practicing the culture. But someone in your family gets a spark and says, let me start investigating, reconnecting. Something's going on where people today are starting to reconnect for some reason or another. And then you find out, I have just as much right to that as you guys in the designated area. I want to reclaim my history, my heritage, and my bloodline, because that's what it is. Then no one has the right to take that away. They actually can't. And if they do, it's because you gave them the power to do it. No one has the right to take that away from you. The government tries to enforce that through their BIA criteria. But if you take a knee and submit to it, then you're going to be subject to it. If you exercise your sovereignty as a pre-colonial indigenous person that's always been here, even before the creation of the United States government, and you reclaim everything that your ancestors fought and died for, then that's on you. You have the right to do that. Can't nobody take it away from you, regardless of what they say. And you don't have to beg any individual for it. And that's when you start linking up with your cousins, with your uncles, with your aunts, with your grandmothers. You start to investigate and find out, okay, what kind of tribes are here? Let me start going out and talking to some of these tribes and find out exactly where my family fit in. That's what you do.
There's people here with native ancestry and active in the culture that look white. And they can prove who they are. So because they look white, I can't say that they are white just because their DNA came out looking fair-skinned. Same applies to people who are brown-skinned and dark brown. Because here you're going to get people from dark to brown, tan, light skin, and fair. Broad features, angular features, different hair textures. You might be able to get a comb through one and not the other. That's not what makes you who you are. It's what's in here, in your blood, inherited through your bloodline, through your ancestors. Situated right here in your heart and in your mind, manifested through your actions. That's when you become involved in the culture. If you wasn't grown up in it, then you get into it whenever you want to get into it, or whenever you're called to get into it. And it's your right to do it. Can't nobody take it away, deny you, and they don't have the power to do that unless you give it to them. You can give people power over you. If you choose to do that, that's on you. I love it out here in the nature. I love this stuff, this scenery here. So when we're talking about the Thanksgiving address, we're talking about all of this out here. One of the things in the Akasa martial arts, or native martial arts, we talk about when you're out here in the woods. Now this is a trail, so this, this is frequented by people. People come out here quite often. But when you're in a natural environment like this right here, you have to learn how to blend in and become a part of the environment. Animals can tell when humans are out here because we're not in sync with them. They move differently. When we come through environments like this, we move clumsy, we walk upright, we make all kinds of noise, and everything runs away from us. So have a great day on that.